Yes, guys, what's going on? Welcome to Stretford Paddock. I am Adam McCullough, and today I am joined by Joe Smith in Paddock HQ. We got John Shin all the way over there in their states, and of course we got James Young as well joining us here to talk Sheffield United against Manchester United, United's next Premier League fixture, and a fixture in which we could be making the table look a lot better for Manchester United fans and possibly closing the gap on some of those teams above us. And we've still got that game in hand, of course, as well. So we'll be here to discuss all of that. We'll also be going through the opposition, Sheffield United, who have 1 point currently in this Premier League campaign. We'll also be giving you our predicted 11s, predicted score, and much, much more. So get yours in the comments below as well. If you're watching there at home, get your thoughts down there below. But first things first, boys, how are we doing? I'll come to you first, John, seeing as it's so early where you are. How are you?
I'm great. It's been a while. Glad to be back.
Got your new Stony on, looking good.
I just grabbed whatever I could. I woke up and I saw your Twitter message. Shit, let's
go. I'm sure you did. James there, repping Jamaica. Obviously, James, how you doing, bro? You good?
Yeah, obviously, I've got Jamaican heritage. That's why I'm wearing the jacket. Yeah, I'm not too bad. John, are you a secret member of the EDL? Then is this what this is about?
And Joe, how you doing, bro?
Yeah, good, very good. Thanks. No badges or nationalities or. Oh, actually, I've got a Disneyland T-shirt. There you go.
Oh, that's right.
See you later.
T-shirt, Joe. Jesus.
I inherited this actually. This was inheritance. This T-shirt, so don't insult it.
One great man once said, "You just should sew some badges on your jacket."
That man was Stephen Howson, wasn't it?
May or may not have been. We'll get back to talking about Sheffield United against Manchester United, and obviously Manchester United's form, it's up and down. If you take away the Champions League, our away form has been incredible. And obviously coming into this one, do you guys think there's a reason why we are so much better away from home than we are at home? Or does it not matter in this era where, I say era, in this period of time where we haven't got any fans in the stadium? John, what do you think about that?
Well, of course, I still think it matters to a degree, right? I understand one of the biggest aspects of playing at home is the fans, right? If the fans are not there singing your songs and singing your chants, of course, it doesn't feel like home. But at the end of the day, home is home. Home is where your heart is. And if you're out there and if you're used to playing under the floodlights at Old Trafford, and that's still home. With respect to what you were saying, does it matter? Yeah, I definitely think it still matters once the fans start coming in. Just because you say, oh, the fans weren't there, that's not an excuse for you to not be performing at home. Your location, your home stadium, your home field, that's where your power is supposed to come from. With respect to why, I have no idea. It's just in the last stream, in the last show after the game against City, I was talking to Steve on the watch along review type show that we were doing, and we were talking about how Manchester United are so consistently inconsistent, and not performing at home is just one of those inconsistencies. I have no idea why this is going on. Maybe James has been writing up some nice articles for this, but I have no idea. It's just one of those things where it's like I have no clue.
I was actually reading something in the Observer the other week that was saying that there hasn't really been much of a difference in terms of results between the crowd being at matches. Hasn't actually made that much of a difference in terms of results. They did all the number crunch, and they were saying that the only difference that it made was actually for yellow cards. There's actually less yellow cards for the home side because of the referee from the pressure. But apart from that, they were making it out that there wasn't actually much difference really at all.
I mean, that's very interesting to hear. I would suspect that, the fans getting behind you is definitely something, whether it be a positive influence on the pitch for players, as in like the players, let's say you're behind and you're like, oh shit, we have to show the fans, so we have to show them something. Or if it's like, if we don't show them here, we're going to get a rollicking from the fans. Whatever the pressure, whatever style, if it's negative or positive, I feel like they've always had an influence. But with respect to performance, just the sheer level of inconsistency is baffling to me. And I was telling Steve and I was telling I was telling the cast that day that we have to do better. If we're going to try and challenge for anything, I know we look good on the table right now, but the season is hella long. And if we want to challenge for anything, we have to find a certain level of consistency, both home and away.
Definitely. It is a weird one. I suppose it can have, like, if you're a team that's going through a negative patch, then your fans at times could probably make it worse for you at home if they're, umming and ahhing and jeering every time you're making a bad pass or whatever. But then I suppose on the flip side of that, at times in a game where, for example, the Manchester derby last time, 0-0, there's times in that game where Manchester United are on the ball, where the fans are telling you you have to attack or attack a little bit more. And I think from that, you obviously see spaces probably open up more for Manchester City, and more things can possibly happen for Manchester United. So, yeah, I think they can, some players are probably happy there's no fans. Some players are probably unhappy because they probably feel they need that kind of push from either home or away support. So it is a weird one, and I suppose it depends on the type of player that you are. Joe, what do you reckon? Is there a reason tactically that we could possibly look at? Obviously, Ollie's been quite flexible, or rather, he's chopped and changed his tactics a lot. Do you think maybe that's got anything to do with it, or?
Yeah, I think one of the things that has sort of gone under the radar a little bit is the fact, or the consistent lack of strikers or striker for Ole. At the start of the season, obviously Martial played a little bit, but then he was suspended for 3 games after the red card against Tottenham. During that time, Cavani was deemed to be not ready to be starting games, or certainly not ready to be playing full 90 minutes of games due to fitness. And then by the time they both came back, we started looking really good. We started, beating some good teams and scoring goals. We saw the Southampton game where Cavani obviously came on and changed the game. But then now they were both injured again for Martial came on against City, but wasn't fit enough to start. And they were both injured for the Leipzig game. I think the fact that we've not really had, either one striker available consistently, or certainly having 2 strikers out, has meant that we've reverted to this diamond formation, which I think we look a bit better defensively generally, but I think we struggle to make chances with the diamond formation, and have done all season really. So I do think that tactically there is definitely a part to play. And I think it's almost gone under the radar, the fact that we've not really had consistent strikers available to us all season, whether that be through fitness or through suspension. But yeah, that's got to change things massively, hasn't it? And another thing about the home crowd is, and I know it may have affected United more than others, and I don't think that's because we've got 6,000 more home fans than other teams, because I think at that scale, the difference between 65,000 and 76,000 is somewhat minor. But one thing, imagine if you were going home every day, and instead of your flatmate or your mum and your dad and your sisters being there, you go back and it's just empty. And then for 10, 11 months, your house is empty. Rather than it being like, well, it should still be home. If anything, it would feel more weird playing in front of a stadium that you're used to being full and is now just empty every single game. I think, if you're going away, the expectation is you're not going to have that home support. So probably it's more weird playing in front of a home crowd that's not there than it is playing in front of a away crowd that's not there. But that doesn't really explain why United's home form is so much worse than other people's home form during this period. So really, I would put it down to the tactics more than anything.
It's interesting. Obviously, you mentioned the strikers as well. And I do think, obviously, there's, as Martial's out of form, Cavani's been unfit for a lot of the season. Mason Greenwood's been in and out of the squad. And our front 3 combined, minus Cavani last year, was one of the top scoring front 3s in Europe. You now look at it, only one part of that is delivering in terms of goals. You could argue Rashford's been hit and miss in form. And if you were to add another 5 goals on, which Martial and Greenwood should have added or could have added, then I think our league position and our form at home would obviously be a lot different as well. So if buts and maybes though, unfortunately. And I think we do have to get that home form right, especially if we want to be challenging at the right end. We are away though in this game, and our record-breaking run away from home. Obviously, I think it helps that even without fans, teams set up against United probably a little bit more expansive at their home stadiums as well, which obviously helps us. Going to Bramall Lane, it will obviously bring thoughts of Dean Henderson. Dean Henderson was obviously brought back to Old Trafford this season. has played a handful of games and will probably play more with the Europa League on the horizon. Is this a game that you'd like to see Dean Henderson playing in? And even if it isn't one of those games you think he'll play in, with the January transfer window on the horizon, is it better for him to leave to get football? Could a move back to Sheffield United be the type of thing that could, because they obviously probably need him at the moment. But what do you guys think about that, James?
I don't know. I mean, I think the thing with Henderson is that he has to be playing consistent minutes at this stage of his career. I think that's the important thing. And I think his career could stagnate if he's sort of playing second field, if he's playing that Romero role for 2 or 3 seasons. And we've seen when he has played before, he is quite a reliable backup to have. But whether that's what he wants his position to be at the club, you don't know. He might be saying, well, look, I want to be going out on loan again. I want to be getting first team football. But at the same time, De Gea, even though he did play well against City, I mean, maybe it's time for Henderson to start playing more consistently in these matches and slowly, gradually sort of put him into the squad more. But I think the no fans things maybe helps Henderson because he's under less pressure in terms of if he makes a mistake, it won't be a bit like a Taibi or even a De Gea. I remember his first couple of seasons, he struggled under the sort of scrutiny of the away fans and everything. So I think it could be a good thing for Henderson. But I just want to go back to what you were saying earlier. I mean, there's a lot of sort of opinions saying that Solskjaer would be under more pressure if there were fans inside Old Trafford. But I think people are forgetting actually under Moyes and under Van Gaal and under a lot of poor performances when United were playing bad, the fans always got behind the manager. I think that's an important thing that people just seem to be forgetting because it was the Liverpool game under Moyes when it was, 4-1, and that was one of the best atmospheres that season. So I don't know where people are coming from that opinion.
Yeah. John? Dean Henderson? Or in regards to that, if you want.
Yeah. No, I think the point about Dean Henderson is it just kind of maybe gives us fans a bit of a clue as to what Manchester United or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is thinking with respect to the goalkeeping department. We all know Dean Henderson. I think he's at that career, like you guys were saying, that he is in need of first team football. I don't think this is the stage in his career where he sits there playing second fiddle. I think this is where he needs to get consistent minutes, and I think Manchester United know that as well. And for them to bring him back now at this stage of his career, I think just gives me this feeling that they're probably ready to start preparing or transitioning David De Gea out of that position. Whether that be if David De Gea is willing to sit and play second fiddle the next year or the year after that, or whether that be David De Gea says, look, I understand you guys are thinking this way. Let me leave. Take me out of this club. Whatever the situation, it just gives me the feeling that they're sort of ready for that next era of goalkeeping department, and they're willing to give Dean Henderson a shot in that sense. That's just the sense that I'm getting. Do I feel as if he's ready for that role? I don't know. I like him. I think he's a fantastic keeper. I think he's got lots of potential. But also, there's a bit of bias in me. I love David De Gea to death. This is the same guy that was saving our asses year after year after year of absolute bullshit. So, it's gonna take me a lot for me to say, all right, David, you gotta wrap it up. You know what I mean? You gotta go back home. Your singing wife is waiting for you. It's gonna take a lot for me to say goodbye to David. But in that, with whatever how I feel, irrespective of how I feel, my bias aside, I think Manchester United is just kind of preparing for that transition.
Go on, Joe.
It's weird though, isn't it? Because, like you said, the fact that we brought Henderson back, we've essentially cut ties with Romero and ruined whatever relationship was left between him and the club. Seemingly, he's furious about not being able to get a move away, and he's been, isolated and not been playing any games at all. So it does seem as though, like you said, John, that we are moving towards a Henderson-De Gea duo, whether that be Henderson number 1, De Gea number 1, we'll find out. I think the fact that we're out of the Champions League means that now Henderson can play in the Europa League. I think it's unfair on De Gea to, the Champions League is almost of equal importance as the league, and not quite, I wouldn't say, but if you drop in De Gea for the Champions League, that's giving him one less sort of, prestigious tournament to play in. But if you play him in the Europa League, I think that's fair enough. Play him in the Carabao Cup, maybe even play him in the FA Cup. Dean Henderson can get 15, 20 games this season, no problem. The only other thing I would say is, when you look at selling De Gea, like the rumour was always Real Madrid. Well, they've got Courtois, who's a very good goalkeeper, who I think is younger than David De Gea. You look at.
You watched Courtois recently.
It was very good last season. I don't know how he's been this season, but it was touted pretty highly last season from what I read. I didn't watch that much of him, but I think he struggled to start with, and then again, from what I read, he was pretty good last year. I don't know about this year.
Bit shaky sometimes.
Yeah, he always has had that in him, though, hasn't he? And then you look at Barcelona; they've got Ter Stegen, who's very good. You look at Atletico Madrid; they've got Jan Oblak, who's very good. So, in terms of the big three in Spain, I don't really know where De Gea would fit in. The other top team around Europe, Keylor Navas at PSG maybe could be displaced by him, but then, the whole thing was moving back to Spain, moving back to his home country, all that sort of thing. So I don't know whether he'd even be up for a move to PSG. So I don't really know how we're going to get De Gea out if that's what.
Do you think he's in that league of players that are on a certain wage, a bit like Bale in that instance? They're sort of in that bracket. Only a few clubs can afford them, and they're not interested. So, like Bale has been for Real Madrid, he's even technically a Real Madrid player still, even though he's at Spurs. But because only a certain amount of clubs can afford them, a bit like Sanchez as well, and they don't want to pay it. He's just sort of going to be stuck playing for United for the next 2 years.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Juventus is maybe another team, and they've got Buffon, who's up at, what is he, 37, 38? So that could be another one.
58, Buffon.
So, yeah, I don't know where De Gea is going to go. And he's also not that old. What is he, 29, 30? He's not, he's still got 5 or 6 years left in him. So I don't really know what the plan is with that.
And he's the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, I think.
I think so, yeah. What is it, 250 grand or something?
I've never really thought of it from that regard. Like, his stock isn't at the highest it's ever been. And his wages are very high. No one's really going to match or even get close to them. So the appetite for him to leave is less. And the appetite for clubs coming for him is less.
Something tells me that he feels like the move that he's been wanting is unavailable. And I think Joe was spot on with that. I just feel like there's a chance of him just kind of, seeing out his years at Manchester United. There is a good chance of that happening, but I just don't see it being the same De Gea Romero situation. The only reason why the De Gea Romero situation worked was because Romero was supposed to be brought in to be second keeper, and he just happened to be fantastic. It was just such a good steal from that sense. Dean Henderson didn't come here to be second keeper. He came here. He's still young. He's got lots of potential. He's not here to play second fiddle. He's here to fight for that first team spot. So I think that relationship is quite different as opposed to the Romero De Gea situation. The
difference as well is Dean Henderson could get in, I would say, probably 17 of the 20 Premier League teams. He would be a first choice goalie for almost every team in the league. Whereas Romero, what is he, 34, 33, 34? That wouldn't be the case either. So, Henderson's 23 years old and would play for almost anyone in the league.
Romero's far more experienced, though, isn't he? I mean, he's played in a World Cup final. He's got loads of caps for Argentina. I think it depends under the circumstances, because in a Champions League quarter-final or semi-final, I'd rather play Romero this season than Henderson, just because of that experience that he has in those big matches.
Maybe. I do think experience matters, obviously, as a goalkeeper, positionally and all that sort of thing. But I don't think that Romero is the sort of guy who commands his box particularly well or is a real vocal kind of player. So I
would never have had him as number one.
No, exactly. That's what I mean. Whereas Henderson, I could envisage as number one in the next 2 years.
Yeah, and if you're Romero, like this, to come into Manchester United was a blessing. Where did he come from? As AZ Alkmaar? I mean, like that purchase.
Sampdoria, I think.
Oh, Sampdoria! Like that purchase was just out of the blue. So for him, this is a steal. You know what I mean? And but Adam just hit the nail on the head. I don't see him as a number one. Dean Henderson, I see him as a number one. So there's a vast contrast there.
But that's where the problem.
Where Romero had was it Adair that ran rings around him, did that stupid Panther celebration.
Was that Swansea?
Yeah, I think so.
Or was it Gomez, Baffotimbi Gomez?
Yeah, that's the one.
He's the one who did that celebration.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, I don't think Romero's ever been a number one, really. And that's where the problem comes from, doesn't it? Because Dean Henderson doesn't want to accept that role like Romero did, which, so whether it's happened yet or it will happen, there will come a point where he or his agent are like, well, are we going to be playing or what? What's going on? That point's going to come.
Yeah. The final thing on that as well is Dean Henderson is whisper thin or very, very close to being England's number one, whereas Romero was Argentina's number one guaranteed, even though he wasn't playing. There's incentive for Dean Henderson to play, and he can improve and move up the ladder in terms of world football recognition by playing every week, whereas Romero, he was Argentina's number one no matter what.
You say that though, but Gareth Southgate looks like he wouldn't drop Jordan Pickford for anything.
No, that's true.
Yeah, but international football is strange like that, though. Anyway, like Boubacar Bari was Ivory Coast's #1 goalkeeper for like years, and he was by far their worst player. So it's not necessarily a case of he's a good player. It's just with international football, it is just the best of the people that can play in that position. So
I love that reference, by the way, James. It's a superb reference.
It was the Africa Cup, the Africa Cup of Nations that they finally won. That group of players, they lost to Zambia, I think, in 2013, and they finally won it. And everyone was quite old. And Boubacar Bari was the person that all the players were like celebrating around. He was everyone knew
he was shit.
Yeah, everyone knew he was the worst player in the squad, and he'd won them the tournament by saying,
scrubbing his head, "Wee, shit," but he still won it. He's cost us for 6 years in a row.
Oh God, yeah. Moving on from that, we'll go on to the 11s. Hopefully, you got your 11s ready. I assume you have. Joe will definitely have his 11 ready, so we'll go with Joe first.
Yeah.
Joe, what's your predicted 11 for this one?
I'm going De Gea. I'm going Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, and Shaw. I think Shaw actually looked pretty good against Sheffield United. Man City. The only problem with Shaw is he looks good in those games against big teams where we sit back and he doesn't have to do too much moving. Because I think his biggest problem is his positioning. His positioning. That's not a weight joke. I think his biggest problem is his positioning in transition, and I think he gets caught out a lot when he's told to attack and then defend. I don't think he's very good. I think when he's just told to defend or bring the ball out to the halfway line and then pass it and not do any more, I think he's great. Against Sheffield United, he's going to have to do a bit more than that, but I do think he'll start. And then midfield, I've gone Pogba and Fred. I think Fred is, whenever he's fit, he seems to play. And Pogba has slowly but surely just got a little bit better. And I think he was one of our best players against Leipzig. And I think he was one of our best players against City. And then I'm going Greenwood, Bruno and Rashford. Bruno could probably do with the rest. Rashford could definitely do with the rest. But again, they just play every week when they're fit. And then I'm going to go Martial up front. And to be honest, I think it's a bit of a blessing that we can play two wingers and a striker. Again, because I'm not a big fan of the diamond particularly. I think we struggle to create chances. And I don't think we need that really heavily clustered midfield four against Sheffield United. I think play expansively, use pace, use put as many players who can score goals on the pitch as possible. And I think we'll probably beat him.
Probably beat him. Lovely stuff. Mm-hmm. I've gone madly out of focus, but John, give me your team.
I'm going to go Henderson. I think it'll be a nice touch for Ole to let him start. It'll be a good opportunity for Henderson to showcase himself, just to say, look, I've had a great time here. I want to show how much I've grown. I want to see how much I've progressed. I'm gonna go Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, and I'm gonna go Shaw as well. I think he had a decent performance. And the thing with Shaw is, like, I just feel like it's one of those things where, like, he builds up a decent rhythm and he gets injured. Gets injured. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Wayne Rooney. They're also like similar stocky build as well. But anyway, I'm going to go Fred and Paul.
Wait, don't you dare compare them to.
I actually... Why are you giving me the full frame here? It's kind of uncomfortable. I'm going to go... I'm gonna go Mata on the right, and the reason why I want to go Mata is because I feel like every time Mata has been coming on or featuring, he's been instrumental. I think it's been underrated, his performances. I think what he's been adding to that side when he's come off the bench has been crucial in terms of revitalizing any sort of idea as to how we go forward. I think Mata's been he's been underestimated there, not underestimated, underappreciated there. So I'm gonna go Mata, and I love Greenwood to death. I'm on Twitter. People are just like freaking at me about Greenwood all the time. I love Greenwood. Don't get me wrong, but he's still young, and I just feel like we want to make sure we don't hamper his growth. We don't want to throw him into the mix when we look frustrated and we're forcing his brain to think too much. And that's you're gonna break kids like that. We don't want him to think that way. We just want him to play his raw style, and then you refine it later. So I think we can afford to play Mata. Especially against the Sheffield side, who literally has 1 point in the table. They're going to probably sit back a lot deeper. They're going to probably play a lot more compact. So I think somebody like Mata is perfect at disassembling things like that and dismantling defenses. I'm going to go Fernandes in the middle, Rashford on the left, and Martial up top. And I really wish we can figure out a way to give Fernandes and Rashford a rest because these boys look tired.
Defo. James, your team, please.
Yeah, so Henderson in goal. I think John kind of nailed it. I think United have to kind of play him in these sort of matches to see really what he's like. And then I'm going to go back. I'm going to play Tellez instead of Shaw. Tellez, Maguire, Lindelof, and Wan-Bissaka. I think Wan-Bissaka has kind of nailed down that spot really on that side of the pitch. And then I'm going to go for a diamond, not a triangle this time around. Pogba and Matic, and then Fernandes ahead of them. I don't really think, well, Pogba maybe he shouldn't be playing, but I actually reluctantly think he had a good game against City, and he did play well actually, I thought, against Leipzig as well. So it's just annoying that Raiola's coming out and saying all this stuff. We don't know how much of that is actually him or whether that's Raiola, but I think it's quite annoying really when all that stuff's going on. It's to be expected of Pogba really, and I think we just sort of I feel it feels uncomfortable saying it, but maybe we just have to get used to it and just sort of hopefully Pogba leaves in the summer and that's kind of the end of it, because he is kind of trying to undermine the squad in a way. And then Fernandes, like I was saying, ahead, and then Rashford and Mata either side, and Martial up front. Even though Martial's not been in great form this season, I think a team like Sheffield United is a kind of an ideal one to play to sort of get his confidence back up. And then hopefully when we've got those tough games coming up, the likes of Liverpool, the likes of Sociedad as well in February, that's going to be a difficult game depending on how seriously Solskjaer takes it, then it'll be able to be ready for those.
Most definitely. Martial got a hat-trick against Sheffield last time, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, so no reasons not to be scoring 6 in this one.
Is anyone else really worried the fact that Sheffield United have only got 1 point? And I know obviously it's one of those things.
This is the Sheffield section, so carry on.
It terrifies me. Like, what is it? Played 11, drawn 1, lost 10. You just think this is so set up for us to lose. We've always got this perpetual thing at United where we're a game in hand away or a couple of drop points from another team away from being either top 4 or a title challenge. And it happened all season last year. We were a couple of drop points away from being 4th, and it was only like, what was it, the second to last weekend where we actually made it into the top 4. I just feel like we've got this position where we've got a game in hand, which is like this sort of, theoretical lifeline to take us into a title race. But I just think it's almost too perfect that we end up dropping points to these. And maybe that's just me being, a little bit silly because they are clearly the worst team in the league. But I think they were so good last year, they must still have a bit of that in them. And I just worry that, the team...
Do you not think people have just figured them out?
Maybe, but I don't know, because I think when you say figure them out, I've never seen a team so comprehensively figured out as this. This is the worst start anyone's ever had. And they were, when you say teams get figured out, you see it sometimes where teams can't win the league the next season, or I think we saw with Man City over the last couple of years, teams just started to figure them out a little bit. But I've never seen someone figured out to the point where they lose every match of a season. Like, that's unheard of. So, but maybe you're right. I don't know. I just worry that it's almost too easy.
I agree with you in that sense that I hate when there's a record and we come up against someone. Or even like if you look at Arsenal this season, like, you look at all their games, they've lost every game apart from when they played us. It's like, I just don't want to be that with Sheffield United, and I can see the possibility for that. But also, I don't think it's just necessarily a case of them being found out, which part of it could be because now they're having to readjust in games because teams are countering what they were doing last season. But they've also lost some key players. And you look at, Dean Henderson is a massive loss for them at the back. And bringing in someone like Ryan Brewster, who, is a very good young talent, but that's what he is at the moment. And they need something more now. He could get a goal and kickstart his Sheffield United career, which is always the threat as well, which is a bit worrying. But I think there's a few reasons why Sheffield United haven't been performing, and they have to get a lot of those things right to beat United. And I hope, if we perform anywhere near our level, we should be all right. I like Sander Berg for them, though. I think he's a good player.
Hasn't that been the story of United's season so far, though? If we perform at our level, we'll win.
Oh, yeah, of course. I think every team would think that, though, innit? If we perform to our level, we win. But, yeah, United's... Weirdly, we're a team that, and I think it's shown in the results, like we either batter someone or get battered or whatever. But we're a team that creates a lot of chances. So if we take them, we're going to score a fair few amount of goals. But we give up a lot of chances as well. And unless the goalkeeper has a worldie or the team just keeps hitting the post like Brighton did, we won't get away with it.
And like, I like to call this the Tom Heaton performance. I hate teams like this because they're gonna come and they're just gonna fucking play like stupidly out of nowhere, and we can't seem to get a result. We have to be clinical. We have to be cutthroat. If we're gonna teams like this, we don't want them to make their stunning comeback. Is this the way they're gonna turn their season around? We don't want that shit. Get that shit out of our faces. We have to make sure we're cutthroat from the start. Wrap the game up early, and that's it. These are considered tricky for a club like us. So we have to make sure we put the game to bed early.
Most definitely.
Like you said, Adam, the missed chances is the big thing. We make chances in every game. I would say even more than inconsistency, or if we play our game, we'll win. I think for me, this season has been defined by missed chances. I think if we'd have put the chances away against PSG, we'd have gone through. I think if we'd have put some of the chances away against Leipzig, or there's a couple of times when Greenwood could have passed to Rashford and vice versa. I think we miss chances is what loses us games. And obviously, poor defending and starting games badly isn't a help either. But if we put away the first couple of chances we get, we'll win comfortably. But if we keep missing them like we have done in recent weeks, we'll struggle.
Do you think this could develop into a Fulham under Moyes, where but how many shots did United have in that game? It was something ridiculous, like 34 or 35, and still ended up drawing.
86 crosses or something, right?
Yeah, 70-something. Yeah.
I like how Arsenal are in that territory. Yeah, exactly. They're the crossing team. But yeah, it's horrible.
For more on Arsenal, by the way, make sure you check out the Premier League piss take with myself and Joe. We've got to that time where we do have to put our necks on the line, and it's prediction time. We've all kind of alluded to the fact that we fear it could be that one where Sheffield United pull a performance and a result out the bag. But are you predicting that to happen, or is that just your fear? James, what's your score prediction?
No, I think United will win. I don't want to say comfortably, but I think United are capable. I'll say 3-1 away. I think Sheffield United could be the type of game, they take lead after like 4 minutes again, and it's sort of like shit. And then second half, 3 goals, and it's sort of forgotten about, a bit like West Ham.
Go on, Joe.
3-0. I know, again, I do have it in the back of my mind that it could be a bit of a banana skin, but we can't assume that they're going to be anything other than how they have been, and they've been pretty much horrific this season, Sheffield United, even though I do kind of like them as a team. But we've got even if they were on top form, I would still predict a win because we're just better than Sheffield United. I know we didn't.
Well, they were in top form last year, and we scored 3 against them.
Exactly, and obviously, unfortunately, we conceded 3 as well. But that was with Phil Jones, and I think a pretty poor performance from Brandon Williams in that game as well. But I just think we're too good for him. We've got too many good players. We've got Martial back. I think we've got a chance to play a formation that uses our attacking players much better than the formations we've been forced into playing in recent weeks. I think we'll score goals and 3-0.
John?
I want to say 2-0. I want us to keep a clean sheet, but I don't know. This season has all been about inconsistencies. I've been talking about how if I guess something, it's completely wrong every single goddamn time, and that's not because I'm bad at predicting. But I'm gonna go 2-1. I think we'll win, but it will be 2-1.
Not bad. I'm going. We'll either lose 1-0 or win 5-0.
I like that.
Pick one.
Because we could pass it 5-0. We're gonna score a lot of goals in a game. We're gonna absolutely slap someone one day, and I'm hoping this is the time Martial finds his scoring boots, because he needs to. It's been going on too long now.
Honestly, if we scored 6-7 goals, I wouldn't be surprised. Just because, like you said, we make 8 or 9 chances every game, and we seem to miss 7 of them. But it's like you said, at some point, I think we're going to just go chance goal, chance goal, chance goal, chance goal, and if we get 5 or 6, I won't be surprised.
I'm scared. I feel like
we could also lose. I'm not ruling that out.
I'm just going to get clipped up for that one. I don't know.
But yeah, was it Blackburn at home that United beat 7-1? Was it under when Berbatov got, I think it was 5-6 goals or something? But it reminds me a bit of United under Ferguson. I remember when I think Spurs at home was another example where I think United went, 1-2-0 down and ended up beating them 5-2, and I think Newcastle at home as well in that period under Ferguson. Yeah, when United was so clinical on the counter-attack, I mean, they could afford to go 1-2-0 down because Tevez, Rooney, Ronaldo. I'm not comparing Greenwood to Ronaldo, but it's similar in terms of on the counter attack. I don't think I've seen United quite this lethal since that double winning side.
I don't. To be honest with you guys, maybe I've been such a Debbie Downer, but I feel like Manchester United's counterattacks have been rather frustrating over the past few games or so. I don't know, something about like there's just like, and look, you guys know how much I love Rashford to death, but I just feel like he's just so goddamn tired that he can't think or function properly mentally on that pitch. Because sometimes like he'll be choking and like he just simple layoff and he's just slamming it, simple slam and he's laying it off like. I just feel like there's been a bit of disjointed movement overall from the entire counterattacking squad when they make that run. Something feels.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think there has been, but I think I also agree with James, which is weird. I agree with both of you. Like recently, it's been poor, and I think you could put that down to Martial's been out of form for starters. Rashford's been out of form, although he's still been getting goals at times. But his all-round play hasn't been as good as it usually is, and we know Greenwood's out of form. So the fact that all of these guys are out of form, I think, suggests that once they hit the ground again, we'll be all right because we're still creating the chances. Bruno, I think his last games has dipped a bit as well, but we've got no one else performing at the minute, and it shows. So we need those other guys to step up and take the pressure off him a bit. Everyone done? Everyone got everything they need out?
Yeah.
Make sure you're following the lads on social media and all that. Anything you guys want to plug, John, James?
Yeah. Subscribe to United We Stand fanzine because I'm in it this month and it's a great read. So you should buy it. So only things like £3.50 an issue.
Yeah, you should definitely support the fanzines as always. John?
I'm actually starting a new show called Benchwarmers on my own personal channel with my friend. So you guys can come check me out on that.
Not
Nice.
bad.
Cool.
Check that out. We'll put the link in the description and check out Premier League Piss Take with me and Joel. For now, thank you for watching. We'll see you in a bit. We're still here.